What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today we're going to talk about Game of Thrones and how not only the epic collapse that Game of Thrones is going through impacts Game of Thrones, but how a decision made by the most incompetent leader in the history of the entertainment business, Kathleen Kennedy, will be affecting Star Wars. So obviously, Benioff and Weiss, the showrunners for Game of Thrones, they've done a fantastic job of effing this series up completely in Season 8. If you are still not really willing to accept that, that's okay. I understand. Because I've noticed such a massive difference in the initial reaction I had to Episode 3, which I don't know if I had the first reaction up on the internet, but I had the first reaction that I noticed up through a lot of the channels that I follow about the epic disaster known as Episode 3, the Battle of Winterfell, the Long Night. It was a disaster. And when I put that video up, probably one of the worst like-dislike ratios I've ever gotten. And I've noticed that a softening of the criticism I've faced since then when I saw other channels start to come around talking about it with Doomcock and Gary from Nerdrotic and everything like that. And I started to go, okay, well, at least I'm not the only one here. And obviously, then Episode 4 happened, and Episode 4 was just as equal of a disaster of how they're telling stories, how they're ruining characters, how they're ruining everything. They've pretty much screwed everything up that they've built for the past 7 seasons, including Daenerys, including Jon, including everything. Now, I know the spoilers, or at least I think I know the spoilers for how this series is going to end. And if those spoilers if those spoilers end up coming true, like, we're heading for a collapse that we've never seen in television history. Like, this is going to be incredible. And then you look at the fact that we heard that Benioff and Weiss were hired for Star Wars, and they're going to be presumably doing potentially a Knights of the Old Republic series, which, when they were announced, the showrunners from Game of Thrones were announced to be developing a trilogy for Star Wars. The logical point that we all landed on was this is probably going to be a Knights of the Old Republic, which, again, on face value sounds really cool. But then you realize Kathleen Kennedy is still the president of Lucasfilm, and we've seen how they've subverted our expectations up to this point. And now this is going to be bad. And it's par for the course for someone like Kathleen Kennedy to make this decision to bring Benioff and Weiss on, because they have epically screwed up everything that they have built over the past 7 seasons on Game of Thrones. And we're heading for an all-time collapse on the series of Game of Thrones. So now bringing them on to Star Wars, it only makes sense. It only makes perfect sense. At least Kathleen Kennedy is consistent in her stupidity and her ignorance. At least we can say that much about her. So now, not only is Game of Thrones heading for this collapse of epic proportions, now it's just going to carry over into Star Wars. And they're dealing with enough of a PR disaster with Rian Johnson, which the rumors are that Rian Johnson's trilogy is not happening now, which is something a lot of us have looked at and said, yeah, there's really no way you can bring Rian Johnson on after what he's done to The Last Jedi. There's really no way you can bring him on. But now you're finding yourself in another PR nightmare, because if Game of Thrones ends the way that I think it's going to, and the way that a lot of us know it's going to, based on the spoilers that we've heard, if Game of Thrones actually ends, because you think it's bad now, you think the episodes 3 and 4 backlash is bad, you've seen nothing yet. You need to go ahead and get your popcorn. You need to sit back and enjoy the ride, because if these spoilers are true, the criticisms of episodes 3 and 4, you ain't seen nothing yet. So once 5 and 6 actually happen, now I don't know if it happens within episode 5, but the major points that I've seen, once they happen, whether it's 5 or 6, Lucasfilm, you may think you've gotten rid of one PR nightmare with Rian Johnson, and maybe you have. But now Benioff and Weiss are going to bring a totally different dynamic of criticism heading your way. And it's going to be another PR nightmare of epic proportions as well. And ultimately what this comes down to is that Kathleen Kennedy sucks at her job. And I've been saying it for a year and a half. And now she continues to make decisions that make me look good. Again, we're talking about the same person. the same person that let Solo get 90% done before she decided to wake up and do her job and fire the directors that were doing a bad job according to her. 90% done. Then you bring Ron Howard in, and then he has to clean up the mess, at least according to what Kathleen Kennedy said. Solo sucked anyway. And Solo was a disaster when it was greenlit. The fact that someone sat down in Lucasfilm's board meetings and pitched the idea that Solo without Harrison Ford, a prequel of Solo, would be good. And the fact that everybody at that table didn't sit there and just look at this person with the biggest facepalm they could have ever looked at them with. No, they were like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. That sounds like a swell idea right there. The fact that people co-signed it, the fact that that happened shows you how bad Lucasfilm is. And Kathleen Kennedy hired Benioff and Weiss. And now look what they're doing to Game of Thrones. This is freaking hilarious. So, at the end of the day, Game of Thrones is heading to a disaster end. And then Benioff and Weiss are going to be a PR nightmare for Lucasfilm, which Lucasfilm is trying to get rid of one PR nightmare in Rian Johnson, and they're just now adding another one. So, let's enjoy Game of Thrones going down in flames, literally going down in flames as episodes 5 and 6 happen, and we can watch this disaster play out, a beautiful disaster. And then let's watch how Lucasfilm has to handle another PR nightmare. Ultimately, this comes down to one thing. Kathleen Kennedy is a terrible, terrible leader, and she continues to show it by her terrible decision making. She doesn't care about Star Wars. Benioff and Weiss don't know what they're doing, and Kathleen Kennedy hired them to presumably do a Knights of the Old Republic trilogy. This is fantastic. Thank you guys very much for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. Check us out. We cover a lot of things here. Generally, a lot of identity politics and stuff that's going on within the entertainment industry. We're working on bringing a lot more gaming content here to the channel. Also, check out geeksandgamers.com. That's our website. We cover a lot over there on the website. And check out our merch store. We have a lot of stuff over there. Hoodies, hats, t-shirts with Geeks and Gamers merch. Let us know if there's something new that you would like to see, and we will work on it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.